We want to share what we've learned. I did a class on administration.
I love it. I'm like with my job and everything.
So, what have we learned by reading these contracts, other than there's different colors on these pages?
Familiarity with the context of,
The familiarity of the context of a road use agreement,
correct.
which,
Not something that we see every day.
which, you know, the question is not yes or no windmills. The question is yes or no on these agreements that we, that really, I don't know what it is, if it's you know, it's like a marriage commitment. I've been married 30 years, and I'm thankful that my wife puts up with me. 30 years is a long time. These projects will last 30 years until they're repowered, and they'll probably last, these agreements last for 60 years. So it's a big deal. And I believe this road use agreement, I thought there was a restriction on how many years of the contract that commission can sign. Don't know. Heard it was 10, but these agreements and covenants are like a marriage commitment. They go for a long time. So I think it's pretty important that we make careful attention to the details, because issues are going to come up. Issues are going to come up in the next 3 years. Issues are going to come up 33 years from now, and it's the same contract. Issues. You're not going to be around.
So if it's like a marriage contract, can some of us sign the prenup?
So any other questions on the Neosho County Road Use Agreement? We've all looked at a road use agreement and, huh? No, I like comments.
I just said I was right on the 30
Can you
years.
explain the severance? That's on 28L, severance?
So, can I see a contract?
That if this agreement or any term of this agreement is found to be void or invalid or in breach.
Okay, Noah, do you want to cover that? Severance, where are we at?
It's on page 28L,
28L.
clear at the bottom.
So I think what that means, if there's a item in this agreement that is invalid, it doesn't invalidate the entire contract. It just invalidates that clause. Now, is that right?
That's right.
Is that right? Again, I'm not a lawyer. At least in office to a lawyer one time. It was a pretty interesting lesson. He was there 15 years. But we had separation anxiety. Still sorted it out. Any questions on a road use agreement? You've been a very engaging class. I really have enjoyed teaching you some finer points of contract administration. And I hope you have an appreciation for the.
I will have a quick one.
Yes.
So this, in the beginning, the third item that you had was to have a contract administration plan.
Yes.
Will Bourbon County, will we have a plan for contract administration if you guys decide to enter into these kinds of agreements?
So, the requirement for field staff at Kiewit Project is to be able to contract and from that come up with these diagrams. I showed a couple of examples. Basically, they're like incident logs, or if there's a safety incident, they have processes in place. And I'm sure that Apex and their developers have strong processes and procedures to ensure that the project is built to conform to certain specifications and standards. And I think we ideally some of these things would be articulated in a contract, because 30 years from now, when they come back, if they get repowered in 30 years, we're going to pull that, have Kendall's grandkids pull this agreement out of the paper, and that's what we live by. it's the stuff that is written down on this paper. And you can't draw pictures and,
So you're saying that plan, the number 3 item, to have a contract administration plan, we,
you drive that.
you would draft that into, if Bourbon County was gonna do, it would be in a
You would
Bourbon
drive that
County
into,
contract.
yes, you drive that contract administration plan from the guts of this contract. And that's exactly what I hope that you take away from this.
Okay.
I just have another
Question?
question. Yes. Are you working with the schools? Because I know the bus routes and everything is going to be affected in that. Are they in on the agreement, or how is that working?
I have not reached out to schools. My focus has been on understanding a variety of different agreements, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of a number of different agreements, and that's consumed most of my time since January.
Did the county go through this process when evaluating all of the contracts? And
We are just going through this process right now, yes. What, is that the question?
that is the question, but if the contracts are going to be possibly voted on here in an hour or so, the contracts have to be finished before you approve and sign them, right? So you would have had to have
Yes.
already gone through this whole process.
Yes.
Yes, you did, or yes.
So is that the contract?
No, this is I can't really talk about the Bourbon County contract. I can talk about the Neosho County ten-time little phase.
So where's the one we need to be looking at then?
You need to get special permissions before I can share any information about that piece.
How do we get special permission?
When does it become a public record?
Again, I'm not real familiar with the process.
How can you not be familiar? How can you not know that answer yet?
How can, you mean the timeline of negotiating an agreement?
Of when we can see
Well,
it?
you know, I'll tell you, let me tell you a little story. I like telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
3 weeks ago, I was in Florida, and I rented an office space, and I've been, basically there was personal visits, we talked financial terms, and ultimately, we began a negotiation to cover them, articulate everything we had in our heads onto a piece of paper. And I made a change a couple days ago, said this date is, is not quite right. It ends before it starts. Something I missed on a couple reviews. So a relatively small contract that lasts for 3 years, and I do this routinely. It took 3 weeks to negotiate. And hopefully I'll get a check in the mail and really be just as happy as can be.
So that was a 3-year contract, we're talking to 30, 60, 80-year contracts. And it took you 3 weeks to do that one, and what kind of time have you had to do this one? 3 weeks for a,
I'd say 5 weeks ago we were presented with the
5
first
weeks.
draft, yes.
Wow.
so.
Does that sound appropriate?
Somebody give those numbers, does that equate?
Mm-mm.
Even he is shaking his head no. Mr. Anderson there says, no, that's not appropriate.
Any other questions?
So how can the public provide additional feedback for, now that we have this, we can actually kind of look at it?
Kind of mull it over?
Yeah, and provide like emails or to you, I'm thinking, we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet, I'm not ready.
Again, I'm not a legal person.
Okay.
I'm an engineer.
Yeah, we received the contract back in December of 2019. It was not 5 weeks ago.
December 13th.
December 13th was the first time we received and started negotiating the contracts. Just to kind of clarify that. So it's been almost 3.5 months.
So you were not accurate in all the statements you gave us through the whole month of January.
No, I don't remember what statements were.
Well, I asked the question numerous times about the various contracts and you
We're not
and
able
Mr.
to-
O'Hara indicated numerous
I'll give you
times
the
that we
procedure.
only have a road use agreement to
The procedure
To
in this,
sign.
all other counties have done is once the agreements are signed, they become public.
Yeah.
Like in Nemaha County, like Sunshine County.
But you never gave, my point is, you never gave any indication that you were already in receipt of contracts and negotiating. You said, we don't have any contracts to negotiate.
We've been negotiating, I don't remember that statement. We received them back in December, we've been looking at them and negotiating.
Okay.
Okay, Jeff, didn't you tell the people that they would get to see the contract before you signed it?
I guess I perceived that there would be another evening meeting and there would be a you know, kumbaya, cookies and punch, and we would get a little more familiar with, the details of the contract. That's was certainly what, my perception of how the process would move forward in an orderly fashion, yes.
So then why isn't it?
What
changed?
I'm not-
I don't think you can speak for the,
I can't,
For
you know,
the
maybe
commission on that.
there are statements, I thought that's the way it would work. But again, you know, I've never really gone through this before.
You're one
It's
that-
just like getting married. I got married once and, you know, I don't have too much experience in getting married. I tell you today, I'm very satisfied though, very satisfied.
So in other words, they won't get to see the contract before you sign
I
it?
don't know.
We should get to see the contract before it's signed. We've seen this happen on the federal level with our health care. You sign it and then you get to see what's in it. No, that's not acceptable.
So Debbie, we'll just call her Reedy here, Debbie Martin.
Yep.
Has made the comment that she sees this on the federal side. She mentioned affordable health care. We signed it before we read it.
It's the same kind
And
of
it's
deal.
law.
It's very important. It affects a lot of people and we should know what's in it before it's signed. This affects generations.
Are you the commissioners under any type of time frame to sign this contract?
That is a very difficult question. That is a very challenging question.
What was the question?
You know, it's complicated.
Are they under any
Okay,
time frame?
I have time for it.
Are they under any time frame to sign the contract?
So what are you signing at 11 o'clock?
A contract.
I don't.
Yeah,
We're
a
reviewing
contract.
a contract, yes.
So,
you guys get to review it and we don't before you sign it, in other words.
If you're reviewing it in open session today, then it would be public, your discussions, or is there a plan to go into executive session at 11?
I think the plan is to go into, is there an agenda?
Yep.
Somebody clarify what it is.
It's not on the agenda though for executive session.
Doesn't say executive.
No.
I'm anticipating we'll go into executive session, so these contracts don't belong to us.
so you can call it an executive session even if it's not on the agenda?
Yes, I can do it anytime.
Yep.
And I can sign the papers too.
They have to do that in public too. They would have to vote on the contracts to accept them and sign.
And come out in front of us.
But you didn't answer my question. Did you answer my question?
Repeat your question. Repeat your question.
You are so slick.
No, I just want to make sure I answer the question, because a lot of times I'll answer more than, I'll teach you how to build a watch, not tell you what time it is, okay?
I already learned that story. I'm 77 years old, I know how it works.
It's not right.
I would make a request, Commissioner, that if we kick the can another week, I mean, look at the folks who've set their life aside to come here, to be here. People work and have jobs and things. It'd be great if we did some of this in an evening session instead of always during the day.
Because there's a lot
so
more
other
people that wanna
can
come.
attend. Just my suggestion. If you don't make
Well, and
decisions today.
certainly that's the path that we were taking from January, February. The next sequence would be March.
Good.
Good. I think part of the question was, why are you, why is today important to sign the contract? Is there a time frame for you to sign the contract? You meaning the
I don't know
commissioners?
if today is like the magic day.
Okay, so,
I don't believe today's the magic day. I think there's been a lot of
Don't
promotion
don't
about.
speak for the commission.
See?
Huh?
Don't speak for the commission.
Yeah.
well,
We
would
have
you like to
Apex people
answer
here.
it?
Can
No,
Apex
here.
people tell us?
Did you, I mean, you're welcome to answer that question.
We cannot answer that question right this time. We have 11 o'clock, we're gonna go through and go through these contracts again, because there's been some updates. Now, I can't say one way or the other what the results of that are going to be. You know, if we get out of the executive session, and then we will, if anything happens, we have to do it in open session as far as any kind of movement on the contracts.
But you're not under an obligation to sign a contract
I don't know
today.
what timeline is.
Karen Tyson said that we can request to the commission that we get a vote. But you guys can deny it. So why not a vote to make both sides equal?
We're a non-zone county, so obviously there's a difference of opinions with regards to an actual election and putting it on the ballot. You have every right to sign the petitions, submit the question, have it approved, and put it on the ballot.
But she said, I don't mean to overspeak you, but
Right.
Karen Tyson said that we can have this put on the ballot.
Right, Karen Tyson also is a legislator who voted to outlaw windmills in the state of Kansas too. So I mean, it's a process.
So does she
you have
not
to go through.
trump our commissioners?
No.
No, she does not.
No.
And this is a non-zone county that has local rule with zoning or not zoning. I think
So as a local commission, I believe the commissioners can put it on the ballot if they choose to.
Agreed.
But it wouldn't, it's a non-zone county, the contract's already signed.
But they would have.
Between the landowners and Apex, not the county commission, that's be done open session.
But you can take a vote of the people to get their opinion.
It's, as a non-zone county, you'd be voting on putting up a barn, a water tower, a cell phone tower. It's a non-zone county. So the contract between the private citizen and the company would trump a vote, in my humble opinion.
There's a big difference between putting up a barn or a cell tower versus all these wind turbines. It's not even the same
There is-
category.
It doesn't matter, it's all the rule of law. Well, Roe v. Wade is the same thing. It's the rule of law. I could be adamantly opposed to abortion, but the rule of law doesn't allow for the legalization of abortion in our country at this time. And please watch your profanity, I don't appreciate that.
Okay. Justin?
Yes.
So the commissioners are going to sign a contract or not sign a contract, whatever they
That's
decide to
correct.
do. Right, okay, so,
Let me just, because I'll answer your question. There's ramifications for not signing or signing it. This isn't a stop the project if they don't sign this. This is a non-zone county between a private landowner and a business.
so that was the next part of the question.
I don't, right.
So the people that approve of this and are okay with this, with the windows going on their property, they can enter into a contract.
They already have.
They already
And
have.
they have, right?
They've done that years ago, it's my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So we, the commissioners, the city of Fort Scott,
Commission, it's not the city of Fort Scott. It's-
well, the
right.
commissioners, and so they, I heard the other day, since 2016, this has been
Well,
on.
actually, when I came on as county council back in 2014, I think around December or January of 15, there actually was two wind farm companies, not Apex, that came to the commission at that time. They talked about zoning, and I was actually quoted a couple months back about saying, we really should think about this. Is this a good idea, not a good idea? We actually bantered about it. Actually talked to Ms. Dunn about it
When I was here, it was.
We had a lot of conversations about it, and that commission at that time decided not to pursue the zoning issues.
So the wind farms, in essence, are going to happen with those people that said, okay, I want them on my property.
Well, and this is a commissioner, you want me to keep going? I
Sure,
can't talk
go
for
ahead.
hours if you want.
Yeah,
I've done my due diligence, I understand people's frustration. I'm frustrated sometimes as a lawyer with the laws. I've got a really good example is when I was a prosecutor.
Of course.
Marijuana is a really interesting example of something I might not agree with the legislator who said you have to put somebody in jail for a certain amount of weed that you have, right?
Right.
So in this case, you look at all the different examples of the different road usage agreements, the different projects, the different counties, the comparisons that Commissioner Fisher's done, the comparisons that the other commissioners have done, that we've all looked at. I try to find apples and apples. And I hope you understand what that means. I'm trying to find a common ground between all the different contracts. Well, it's hard. I gave you a map that shows our footprint. So This is, the differences between two different wind projects. So this is Neosho County, that Mr. Fisher's been talking about, and this is Bourbon County. And this has been a public record since our last open meeting, but this is the roads that are in Bourbon County that will be used by the project, allegedly. You know, they haven't guaranteed that yet because they haven't done the site drillings and things like that, but this is Neosho County. So you can see the difference between the roads usage between the two. So I can't do apples for apples between Neosho County and here. I can get like numbers, like agreements,
So
but
we have a smaller area
9 miles.
right now
9 miles. This is like
affected by this.
87 miles in Neosho County. We have 9, and there's 4 miles of shared road, which is Bourbon County and Crawford County. So there'll be 14 miles total that will be used in Bourbon County that are roads.
But it might not be because these are already on that tower out on the road.
This is the proposed site, this is the map that we've got, and this is where they're planning on building. And then also you look at the differences between the landowners and the landowners, and this is me speculating. You know, you look at the map and you see who owns what land. There's a whole lot of people that are impacted here, but there's fewer landowners here.
There's 139 wind turbines in this side too.
Right.
There's fewer.
Right, yeah, Neosho County's got a ton. We've got 74, 75, and there's 28, 27 in Crawford County. So what I gotta do is apples for apples. So Coffee County, Neosho County, Nemaha County, you know, all the different counties we've looked at, we have the smallest footprint of any county of the ones I reviewed.
But it doesn't make that any more or less important.
I understand, but that's what I'm trying to get the apples to apples. I have to
But
try to negotiate.
once they get in, they'll be in other
Yeah,
parts of the county,
Right,
so
well-
we'll have windmills all over.
That's a totally new process, and the new commission can
Yeah, but if we don't
adopt zoning,
zone,
they could adopt zoning at the next go around.
So with
It's too late now.
the proposed site, you essentially created a 9-mile industrial park.
I would disagree. I think the people that own that land would disagree with that, because they're still farming it, have cattle on it. I mean, that would be, I'm assuming that's what they would say.
Since,
Thank you.
For the, so we don't have zoning, and I'm not here to say if zoning is great or bad, I don't
Right.
honestly know.
Right.
Is the county addressing that to say, hey, let's put a team together or board together,
Well, I
something
think-
to study
I think
that and figure out
Yeah, there's
what's
gonna
best
be
for Bourbon County?
some things are, you know, if you look at other counties, they have a development agreement. Other counties have development agreements, and obviously, as a good practice, there's probably gonna be a development agreement here in this county. And so if we adopt that development agreement, there's gonna be a de facto zoning occurring.
And there will be another wind project. It'll be
I don't
a
know.
sewer complex, it'll be something
Right.
else. It'll
Right.
maybe something we all wanna have, but we don't have a way to
Right,
protect
and I've
it.
said this a couple of times in the open session, where I believe that if someone wants to run for office and change the way that our counties operate with zoning, they have every right to do that. And you can also put it on the ballot.
Are you saying that this commission's not interested in that?
I believe that well, it wouldn't matter now, but after
does
the
for the
fact.
future, though.
Well, after the fact, I think if a development agreement is signed, they've already de facto done some zoning. I mean, that could happen, the zoning could actually happen when the development agreement is signed, because it already, so stuff has in place.
And do we have are we working on a development agreement?
I would assume from my comments that there's probably a development agreement that's going to look at.
since we have Apex representatives here, could they explain what their timeframe
I can
is for
actually
getting
Talk
the,
about the timeframe. Is that all right, Chairman?
Sure.
I've got head nods, so I want to acknowledge on the
Yes.
record that my bosses have given me, there's a tax credit issue. So, obviously, I want to make this really clear, this is my humble opinion again. I'm reading between the lines, and this is where I make assumptions as a lawyer, which you should never do because you know what that does. But there's a really good chance that if they decide not to sign these agreements, that this will go forward anyway. This process here,
Okay.
I'm